Welcome to the program 14 after 8 o'clock. We are joined by Professor Sipho Seepe. Always a pleasure having you on the show. A very good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Professor, now I understand that Fikile Mbalula was addressing a Women's League conference, and at that conference, he made a couple of comments regarding his interaction with Pravin Gordhan. And I just thought, I kind of wondered why he brought it up at that particular conference. And from what I read into it, it was almost as if he was, apart from being critical, but really, um, you know, uh, taking the mickey out of the whole situation, trying to make light of the situation, but it seems as if it ended up being rather derogatory towards Pravin Gordhan and also Derek Hanekom. What he said in his opening statements that Pravin Gordhan complained to the president when he mentioned Gordhan's ministerial work, and also that he's not delivering. And if this is the way Gordhan will continue operating, or not pulling up his socks as far as his deliverables are concerned, he might get the walking ticket. What do you read into this whole story, and why do you believe that it was necessary for Fikile Mbalula to have brought it up at the Women's League conference?
I think, first of all, Mbalula, there are a number of ways you can look at it. He will be making some statements as a way of gauging how the statements will be received. It's what's called flying the kite. And what one must ask is whether he has been sent to say those things, so that when they boomerang, then the person would send him, or if it doesn't work, it can still be managed. So if there are people who want to get rid of Pravin Gordhan, it would be necessary for this to be said by somebody in his position as the Secretary General of the ANC, to say the ANC is not satisfied, and therefore create a momentum around that. So we know that did not work. So that is the one part that one can see that, because he should by now have been told that as the Secretary General of the ANC, you cannot have this form of verbal diarrhea. Remember, it was not only with Pravin Gordhan, it was also with Gwedeman Dashe. Dashe indicated that he had failed to show up to sign a certain bilateral agreement with countries that were involved in green transition or just transition. It was Mbalula again who made a lot of statements and saying, should the president want to act, we were going to support him. But he was putting weight of his position as the Secretary General, but nothing happened. We also saw Mbalula making statements about a comment that was made by Andile Luisa around the acting public protector's report. And he then went over to suggest that if this person said that, we will actually deal with him. So you see a Secretary General who's gone rogue. He is completely not up to the job. And I think it is because of not being up to the job that he is actually trying to cover up that sense of inadequacy. But people like Pravin Gordhan, they take themselves seriously. So, what even before I say that, there's also an element that people say Mbalula was never a competent minister, and he is the last person to comment about the failures of another minister. People are eager to or keen to indicate his performance as when he was in transport. They talk about PRASA. There's a whole litany of failures that they're willing to point out. And they're saying you should be careful before exposing you. So, but the Pravin, being Pravin, doesn't take these comments idly. And even though one may disagree with Derek Hanekom from time to time, Derek Hanekom is also suggesting that he will also not take kindly to statements that are being made by somebody like Mbalula, especially if he considers them to be wrong. And if it's also affecting his right as a member of the ANC to say those things, and probably as a member of the ANC in good standing. Because what Mbalula is trying to do is trying to create an office that where members of the ANC will be too scared. Because what we unfortunately have in this new regime of Ramaphosa is that people are being expelled, people are being suspended left, right, and center. And Mbalula is using that. So Mbalula is not alone in this. If the ANC wants to be a party of the people, it must also understand that there'll be difference of opinion. But the presidency or the ANC seem to have prevailed on him for him to reconsider his statement. Unfortunately, even in reconsideration of his statement, he had to bring Hanekom into the picture and say they might deal with Hanekom. So we should be excited. We should actually be watching this because this is a party that is unraveling. When you appoint or elect people who are weak, who are without ideas, this is what you're going to end up with. Actually, this is why people can't wait to see the next year to come because they say they are tired of this level of childishness.
Absolutely. I'm going to read one or two comments here by Mbalula himself. And there's, you so rightly, said earlier on, as you were responding to my opening statement, that one can view this from very many different points of view. It could be a situation of, orders from right at the top to start preparing the public for the possibility. This is just one of the possibilities that maybe, just maybe, Gordhan's going to get the chop. So that's the one possibility. The other possibility or reality is that Mbalula is really enjoying the limelight for now as Secretary General, but it might be very short-lived come the elections. And he's probably trying to make as much noise as he possibly can and slander as many people as he can in the process, trying to strengthen his very weakened or position that's getting weaker by the day. So there's very many different ways one can look at the situation. But let me read out this paragraph that he has actually, the statement that he's made, and I find it very childish, but anyway, you can then respond, and I quote, "The minister cried so much that I had to change my stance and even release a statement." He's obviously referring here to Pravin Gordhan. That minister even cried to the president, asking why I singled him out. I was even called out by Derek Hanekom, that freelancer. Mbalula said, speaking to laughs from party members gathered in Boksburg in Gauteng. He went on to say that Gordhan, whose portfolio is responsible for logistics at the parastatal Transnet, has to move very quickly or he will be moved out, suggesting that Gordhan would be fired, intimating that obviously Gordhan could face the axe. And then he had an about turn. On Monday, he says that he will attend to that freelancer Hanekom, but he's not attacking Gordhan. So he is speaking with a forked tongue here. He's trying to backtrack and also has a very short memory because, as Minister of Transport, he has left Transnet in the mess that it's in. Is it not so?
Yeah, I mean, this is his record is not a stellar record. But what is also important is that it will be up to members of the NEC to raise these issues. I think this is not the first. We're going to find a series of statements that he's going to be making about members of the ANC. He actually even told them that these are people who are hungry and almost belittling members of the ANC. So you'll find what you have here is somebody who has become almost a big-headed, and people like those, as they say, pride comes before fall. He's gonna fall heavily if the likes of Derek Highcombe take him on, and Praveen comes in. He would find that he is a very lightweight, both in terms of his history in the sea, but also in terms of his intellect. And I think abusing his position, it misses the point. If the ANC could remove somebody like Mahashoni, it will make the mismatch of Mbalula. And I think he's actually preparing himself without understanding for his own downfall. As they say, those that the gods want to destroy, they first make mad. So this is what you are dealing with.
Do you think that this is what we're going to be seeing a lot of with the upcoming elections being literally around the corner? A lot of mudslinging between the ministers and ANC members, and then also the two different factions within the ANC. Is there going to be a lot of this starting to play out? Lots of dirty tricks, lots of mudslinging and derogatory statements being made against each other, and how will it hurt those particular ministers and ANC members in the upcoming elections?
Well, I mean, the most obvious thing is that the ANC is an empty vessel right now. I mean, it's a party with no ideas. It is a party led by a president whose obsession is really public relations. Beyond that, there's nothing that he offers. He is a president who spends most of his time pretending that we're not in a crisis and pretending that he is not the crisis. I mean, since he took over, we've had load shedding. Since he took over, the economy has gone to a down spiral. And what he has done is to spend time blaming the previous administration of which he was part of. And of course, we have a media that does not call him out, as they do with Mbalula, to say, but you are part of that administration. You can't come and tell us about the wasted years when you are second in command. You can't tell us about the problems of ESCOM as if you are not given that responsibility. So when you have a president who is loafing, a president who simply is unable, I mean, when you have a president who goes around and gets excited about fixing a pothole and thinks that is delivery, and you see him with that smile, and you know that you don't have a leadership. So the ANC, as matter stands, in the public mind, is a party that has failed. And with that, with elections coming, and people pointing out its failures continuously, what they will do is that the party will become desperate. But when you have no ideas, you have no vision, it leads to this internal finger pointing. So that is what we are going to see. It is not going to be about the people. It's going to be about how to get rid of each other, because it has become almost a cancer within the ANC.
Two more questions, Professor, before I let you go. Number one, do you think that the whole Phala Phala scandal has hurt President Ramaphosa and the ANC, has hurt them very badly and is going to make a huge dent as far as their numbers are concerned in the upcoming elections? Number one. And number two, a couple of weeks ago, I spoke to another political analyst. And once again, and I guess this is going to be the ongoing story till the end of the elections, is we keep referring to the upcoming elections. And I asked what were his predictions. Does he believe that the ANC is going to be entering into coalitions with other smaller parties and then still come out tops and will still be in power post 2024? According to him, the ANC, despite all of the divisions within the ANC and all of the shenanigans of the ministers and ANC members, the ANC still has a very large following. And if they do go into coalitions, they are very definitely going to walk away with the elections. They are going to win. Your thoughts?
Well, there are two things. The first is the Phala Phala matter, and the second one is the performance of the ANC. The Phala Phala matter has exposed President Ramaphosa that he's a charlatan, that he's a liar, that he cannot be trusted. He can talk about transparency, but when it comes to him, everything has to be hidden. He had, and what we've seen is that he is not only dented himself as a president and as a person, it has also dented the country. That here you have a president who clearly is probably guilty of a violation of a number of laws that are very serious. And you have that judgment or that determination made by a former Chief Justice and a former senior judge and a senior counsel based on the evidence that they have. We also have a president of another country, Namibia, being called to account by his own parliament on the private affairs of our president. And that dents the country internationally. It was in the Financial Times. It was in the New York Times. It was in the Washington Post. Simply to show how the rest of the world is actually shocked that somebody like that could still be a president. So that is not in question. And it is going to continue to be something that will be talked about until election time, until this matter is dealt with. There is no. You also have a president where other presidents, starting with Mbeki, have commented on the matter and have actually castigated the ANC for shielding a person who appears to be obviously guilty and say this is not what the struggle was all about. And with the weight from Mbeki and Kgalema, who says there is something fishy here, you cannot expect that South Africans are going to turn a blind eye to that reality. And the opposition parties would be using members of the ANC to say these are the people who love the ANC, and this is what they're saying about the ANC. These are former presidents, and these are people with the struggle credentials. So you're not talking about some people just who are nobodies in the streets. So that the opposition is going to deal with it. And the effect that you also had the courts who are even drawn into this behave the way they do is not only going to punish the country, it's going to punish also the judiciary. And it is now emerging that there's a suspicion because we don't know what is in those CR-17 files. And you will have a judiciary that tells us and stands on the rooftops, tells us about the transparency being the lifeblood of a democracy. But when it came to Ramaphosa, they said this information is too hot or too delicate for South Africans to know. So what Ramaphosa has done is actually to hollow out whatever is left of even the notion of accountability, because he is allowed not to account. But it has also exposed the so-called civil rights organizations. I mean, we used to have under Zuma what we call the right to know. We don't see those organizations coming out to say we need to know more about Phala Phala. We need to know about the CL-17. You don't see the Helen Suzman jumping up and down, the Nelson Mandela jumping and down, the Ahmed Katsadas, all these groupings. Don't see them pushing as much as they did under Zuma. So you see them also captured. So in the media itself has been very kind. It has always tried to find a way out for Ramaphosa or to divert attention to some other issues. So we do have a crisis, and the people know you can lie to people some of the time, but not all the time. And when it comes to elections, yes, because of force of habit, there are people who cannot countenance voting for other parties. But also the problem is, do other parties provide anything different? So the ANC will still get the most of the votes, but I do not think that it will get the outright majority. It will be a behavior of other parties. How do they react to the possibility of them gaining against the ANC to create a possibility of a different politics than to this country to be in the hands of a party that has failed it for the last 8 years.
And failed us absolutely and dismally. But however, all I can say is very interesting times ahead. We wait with bated breath to see how the dirty game of politics is going to be playing out as the elections loom large and near. Professor Sipho Seepe, always a pleasure talking with you. Go well. God bless. Until the next time, take it easy.
Thank you very
Stay.
much.
It is exactly 8:36 news and views right here on Salam Media. Just a reminder once again that we will be talking a little later on with Maulana Bilal Kathrada, founder of IT Varsity. He's also an EdTech entrepreneur. We're going to be talking about what is the upcoming 6 Mobile Business Ideas Masterclass all about. Also on the show, my colleague Miriam Mia is going to be talking to us about is Australia, or rather asking the question, is Australia the country South Africa could have been? I have no doubt in my mind the answer is yes, yes, yes. But we will unpack that with Miriam Mia a little later on in the show. But right now we have Abir Ziyad, dearest sister Abir Ziyad, in Jerusalem, standing by to talk to us about why the PA leader, Gayton McKenzie, was not allowed access into the Al Aqsa compound. We'll be joining her.
No smell that takes me back to the comfort of my childhood than the